All right, hello folks, and welcome to today's XenTegra webinar Wednesdays. I'm your host, Pete Downing, and today we are going to talk about Tricerat, and printing should not be a full-time job. And I know for a lot of you, printing is one of those things that is just there, and you'd like to make it easy, hopefully. All right, so let's dive in. My name is Pete Downing. I'm the Chief Marketing and Technology Officer for XenTegra and your host today. On the phone, I also have a good channel partner and channel manager, Tim Harder, and we have the privilege to have the CTO of Tricerat on as well, Andrew Parlett. So they're going to be giving us an overview on Tricerat and printing and a nice little demo today. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining. Again, if you don't bookmark this page, you're missing out. I'm going to be building out a nice little list of 2019 webinars. So I'm going to keep this series going. One of the goals I have is twofold. One, I like to keep these Q&A as interactive as possible. So please ask questions as we go through the day. And two, I like to keep the topics interesting. So if you have topic ideas, definitely email me. Let me know what you'd like to hear about. They don't necessarily have to be all vendor. They can be a topic. They could be a technology. I can invite consultants on from my bench, things like that. So we want to keep these going. So definitely bookmark this page. I'm also going to put the past recordings up as well, kind of like an on-demand page as well. So watch for that in the coming week. I'm in the process of updating the page as we speak. So go.xentegra.com/webinar is the page to know when the next webinar is going to be. And speaking of that, my next guest is going to be the second week of December. It's going to be the last webinar Wednesday for the year because obviously the holidays, it gets a little tight. And I'm going to be inviting my friends over at Uber Agent to give an overview on their technology, what they do. And then I'll talk a little bit about how we leverage it in our MSP practice and may even invite Trevor Manzel, who manages our MSP, to give a little overview as well. So watch for the details on that. I'll be releasing that later this week. So definitely keep an eye out and sign up for that webinar. All right, so today we're going to jump in. I like to do polls. Polls make these webinars real. So if I get data from you guys, that helps us drive the conversation and make it a little more interesting for you guys. And, Andrew and Tim try their hardest to pull in the information to fit some of the polls. So then we'll jump into a Tricerat interview or overview. And then finally, we'll see a nice little demo. And then I'll cap it off with a quick who is XenTegra. And as we go through this, question and answer is definitely recommended. So in the go to webinar, you'll see a Q&A dialogue. Please put your question and answer in there. We want to hear from you. If you have a question, please ask. I'll be watching it and I will interrupt where I see fit to keep this as interactive as possible. So that kind of brings me to my housekeeping items. Yes, you are muted. Yes, this is a go to webinar. But again, you can ask questions through the Q&A dialogue. And if you feel bold towards the end, you want to be unmuted, I'll unmute you and you can ask your question live, kind of like a little radio show. So again, yes, go to webinar, and yes, you are muted. And that's about it for the housekeeping. So let's drop into some polls. All right, so I have 3 simple polls, nothing crazy. They are anonymous. We can't see who's answering them. And they're more to just drive the conversation. So the first poll is simple. Is printing an issue across your environment? So the poll is going to be in front of you in about 2 seconds. And please take a minute to give your response. And, yes, a little loaded question, but hey, for those who think they have their printing under control, say that. We want to know that because maybe we'll change your mind. Let's try to get at least 80%. Going once, we're at 67%. A couple more people tick an answer. If you're a partner, no worries. Going twice, going 3 times. So 64% of you guys have printing issues. So great to hear. Tricerat can help. And those who think you have it under control, I think you're going to walk out of here with some food for thought on where we can enhance it and where we can help you enhance your printing experience for your users. All right, so let's bring up the next poll. Where is printing the biggest issue in your environment? So curiosity, is it physical devices? Is it mobile? Is it virtual desktops? Is it shared computing? So XenApp, Microsoft RDS. So take a moment to answer. Pick one. Pick the one you think is the biggest issue. All right. I know you could probably tick 3 or tick 2. I'm curious on the one you think is your biggest issue, and this will help drive the conversation as well. All right. We're at 63%. Get a couple more answers here. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. So a good spread here. 50% say it's an issue in shared computing. Typically what we see, and good news, Tricerat can help there. 21% virtual desktops, and then the rest of you are between mobile and physical, but still a lot of people in physical. So I find that interesting, and I'm wondering if it's a driver issue. Is it on demand, being able to plug in a printer and being able to print? So things like that. So again, we'll talk about that as we go through the day today. So thank you for giving us that data. And then final question, are you using Microsoft Office 365, aka M365 now? For those who want to ignite, know what I'm talking about. And again, I kind of get a little specific here. So are you using it with Exchange on-prem, hosted Exchange? You're in the process of deploying, or on the radar, or hey, I'm a Google Chrome enterprise shop. So, and again, I can't see who's answering, so don't be afraid to answer. This is more to help us drive conversation. Give a couple more seconds. We're at 63%. I know there's a couple more ticks out there. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, and a good spread here. So, a big chunk of you're actually using hosted Exchange. So I got to be honest with you, shocked. Typically I see about a third, and a third, right? A third with Exchange on-prem, a third with hosted Exchange, and a third, with, deploying around the radar. So yeah, it's, if you put the 7% in the 2020, it's about 50-50. So, at the end of the day, good spread here, and thanks for taking that poll. And that is it for the polls. But again, that helps us drive the conversation. So we're going to jump in now to the fun stuff. So I don't know if you follow me on social media or follow XenTegra, but I put a little fun picture up. The diehards would know where this picture's from. A great movie if you haven't seen it, Office Space. And, Tim, I'm still looking for my stapler. I don't know if you have it, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to do this to their printer at one form or another, right? But again, printing should not frustrate you, all right? And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to my friends, Tim and Andrew, to give you a nice deep dive into Tricerat and give us the content that you guys came to see today. So I'm passing the controls over to Andrew, and I'm going to pass the mic to you guys. So welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your days today.
Thank you, Pete. This is Tim Harder with Tricerat. I am the strategic channel manager here. First off, thank you very much to everybody who's taken the time today to spend about an hour really learning about Tricerat and how we can help you and your team out just from a time and hassle reduction when it comes to managing your printing environment. I'm going to pass it over to Andrew in just a moment, but I'm just going to give everyone a brief background on Tricerat. So this is actually our 21st year in existence. We are privately owned just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. We got started because of the inefficiencies and shortcomings of the Citrix Universal Print Driver way back when. So for those of you who've been working with Citrix for a long time, I'm sure you've crossed paths with us with our initial solution called Screwdrivers, where we took the virtual print driver, or we took the print driver and we redirected it virtually in its full functionality to end users. So that thus allowed paper to move. People were a lot happier without having to rely on different workarounds back in the day with Citrix. Fast forward to now, we are a software development company at heart. So we listen to our customers, we listen to prospects, we listen to fantastic partners such as XenTegra, who give us some pointers as to what kind of features and what we think are out there. And we've developed a full portfolio of solutions that not only work within Citrix, but also we are partnered with Microsoft and VMware. And then we do have the ability to work with traditional workstations as well. So before I pass it over to Andrew, definitely want to give a special thank you to Pete and XenTegra. My job is to find partners such as XenTegra who are willing to take the time to market and take care of setting up events like this where we can really educate administrators and end users as to what technology is out there that could definitely help them move forward. So I'm going to pass over to Andrew Parlett. Andrew is our CTO. He has been with Tricerat for almost its entirety, just about 18, almost 19 years now. He's going to run through a quick presentation and then go right into some demos.
All right, thanks, Tim. Like Tim said, I'm Andrew Parlett, and I'll be diving into a demo here in just a few minutes. Want to really show you the solution and how it might really help with your printing environment and some of the hassles that you're facing. But I do want to walk through a little bit of a presentation here just to kind of set the stage as far as an overview of our product, of our solutions, and the use cases that it really applies to. And really to start off, really just the broader sense of why. And we looked at some studies that were done out there, across industries and across different business types. And really, the studies came back with just incredible numbers as far as the amount of money that's spent on printing. And certainly, we get into certain types of printing, buying printers, buying paper, that sort of thing. But there's so much that goes into the management of printing, help desk support of printing, and some of those numbers really were unveiled. And when we look at printing solutions like Tricerat, there's really a lot of opportunity to come in, solve some of those problems, get a real reduction in some of those costs from both a management, a user productivity, a help desk productivity standpoint that really would affect the bottom line. So from that ROI standpoint of an add-on solution, where can that really be uncovered? So this survey really found a couple different statistics. The first one being, on average, companies are spending between 1% and 3% of their total revenue on printing expenses. So you think about your company, the total revenue for everything in your business, and thinking that perhaps up to 3% of that could be spent on printing. Obviously, that can be quite a large number in many cases. And then looking specifically at the help desk, on average, again, 23% of those support tickets that are coming in are printing related. Now, quite a variety of different printing issues, of course, from the hardware of the printer all the way up to do I have the right printer and can I print to it? And so, again, if we can look at ways to reduce that number, we can immediately see time savings for your help desk to focus on other things. We can see time savings for your users to focus on what they want to do. And then realize, productivity dollars out of that. So where are these printing spends happening? Well, we talked about hardware costs, but that turns out to be just 5% of the overall printing costs in an organization. Most of the rest of it is broken down between operating costs and indirect costs. And in operating costs, there's things like we think about as far as consumables, the paper, the ink, those type of things. We always have to be buying more of that, and there's a lot of visibility into those items. But then you look at the network management and the infrastructure to get those printers online and functional. And then we get into the indirect costs for your help desk, for support, for the productivity of users. Those things that we were just talking about really fall under these indirect costs that could be up to 50% of the total spend for printing. So again, a huge opportunity to really make a reduction in terms of that spend that sometimes you might not even be aware that's happening, but certainly when you get some visibility into that and apply some solutions on top of that to really reduce that, that's a lot of time and money that really can be saved and brought back into your organization for other more strategic things and initiatives that you have in your organization. So let's look at three different use cases here. Again, just ways that print management software can go in and really help organizations save time and money. The first one is an insurance company that we worked with in the Midwest. And really their setup was they had a whole bunch of small offices spread around an area. And so there wasn't necessarily one central office. Most users were either away from kind of that central hub or moving between those offices. And really, the amount of time being spent trying to manage printing, both for the users and for their help desk staff, was really adding up. In fact, they started doing a study to see what that meant. For this particular company, it was $360,000 per year that was being spent on this. And so by layering in a desktop print management software from Tricerat, they were able to reduce that and save that much money per year. So they were really seeing recurring savings year on year from using a management software from Tricerat. Another example, in this case, an MSP. This is actually a healthcare service provider for healthcare software, where they had their cloud-based software being distributed out to their clients. Well, they weren't managing the remote environments for their clients. They were managed by their clients or by some other IT organization. But they were connecting in to their cloud service using their software and then needing to print. And so this was pretty much a client-based printing need, so that any client that connected into that software would be able to build their local printers, be able to effectively print through the WAN and down to that client, and then have the print job come out successfully. So what were they looking at? For those printers to build every time consistently, reliably, and what the users were expecting. For when the users hit print, for the print job to be minimized across the network so that it would go across quickly and without a lot of network interruption. And then for that print job to come out correctly, just having the paper move and the right thing, what's expected on the paper, really makes a difference. In this case, again, a study was done, 30% reduction in help desk calls. So we go back to some of those earlier numbers as far as really the amount that could be built up on that help desk. A reduction in 30% obviously could be a huge savings for both time and money for that organization. And finally, a hospital. In this case, a large hospital network with a new large hospital facility. Certainly security considerations in any healthcare environment. Most of their environment, well, they had a mix of things. They did have some physical desktops, but a lot of it was VDI with thin clients. And so, of course, doctors and nurses would go from room to room, badging in and out of these systems, connecting into a central VDI system, but they needed their printer access there in the room. And so to add in a management solution where they didn't have to deal with the drivers, they had a way to easily assign print queues to devices instead of the users. They could then manage an extensive hospital system really with not a lot of time, and an improvement to the end user experience for the doctors and nurses that always had the right printer for that current session. In this case, they had a team of people working on printing, and with a solution from Tricerat, they were able to reduce the amount of time spent on printing down to part-time for one person. So now that administration team that really has a lot of responsibility and a lot of capability could spend time on other more strategic things instead of the hassles of printing. So really a direct indicator of efficiency for administrators and end user experience improvements. So those use cases really did boil down to these two things as far as administration and user experience. We see from the administrator side really just easy provisioning of printers. When we get into the demo, I'll show you how quick and easy it is to drag and drop a printer. Within seconds, you can deploy a print queue out to a user or a device. Very simple. And we have methods that really scale up. If you need to import thousands at a time, we can do that through an import method. So you format a CSV, import it in, and again, within seconds, you now have thousands of devices and assignments ready to go for people that need to use it. Driver management made simple. This is one of the key things about our software. There's just so much time spent in traditional environments for managing the drivers where they need to be. Certainly getting them into VDI images for managing the multitude of drivers that might be needed on terminal server systems for users on their desktops. And really, when we talk about the variety of platforms, most of those platforms I've mentioned have some answer for driver management in that system. But when you have a hybrid environment where you're printing across different platforms, your users are using different devices and platforms, to have an approach that goes across all of those platforms, manages it all in one place, and where you don't have to deal with the drivers anymore. There's one spot that we take the one driver from and deal with the distribution throughout the network. It's easy, it's effective, and it's very efficient from both from the engineering perspective of the time spent, but then also just the hassle dealing with those different driver versions. So as we go into the demo and look at ways that we have, you can think about ways that really driver management becomes just a thing of the past. And I've kind of touched on the optimized network utilization when we talk about speed of the network, compression, encryption, these things. We've, of course, over the years optimized our print method so that it's still the correct print job, but it comes out as quickly and as effectively as possible. And then the user experience. Certainly, this is a huge thing for any kind of service that an IT team is providing, giving the best options and the best experience out to your users. Consistency is number one here. As users are interacting with your environment from whatever application or device or platform that they're using, having a consistent printer build every time and the right one for that session, especially for users that might move around, really enhances their job and their productivity. I mentioned the context aware based on location. This might be their IP address or the device they're using. And then as they move around, dynamically building the correct printers based on their needs. And self-service. This isn't always something that is deployed because sometimes you want the tools to push out the exact printer to the user and not let them change it. But oftentimes in a mixed environment, you do have power users that might be moving around or might have special needs that they want to be able to control their printing. Well, we have methods so that you can grant them access to particular printers and then they can build their own printer. Besides the user experience enhancement, we really look at this as a reduction in help desk calls. How many times are these users having to call up the help desk because they need access to some other printer and they don't have it? Well, that's their time being spent and also time being spent from your help desk staff. If we can give them the tools that they can build the correct printer dynamically in their environment very quickly, that really helps reduce that immediately. And it's effective both for the user and the administrator. So ultimately, this comes down to ROI, return on investment. Again, you're looking at an add-on product to your terminal servers or your VDI, your physical desktops, the different area of your environment. Well, what's the return on that? And so what we're getting at is if we can look at the underlying spend on time and other resources, we can use some of those industry averages that we talked about earlier and get a pretty decent idea of what the spend is and then what a print management solution can help reduce. Again, that's not going to zero, but if we can really take a large chunk out of that spend for the management of printing, then it really can be tangible results back. On our website, on Tricerat.com, we do have an ROI calculator on there. So I invite you to go check it out. It's really just a couple fields. You can put in some estimates about the number of help desk tickets and the number of hours spent on printing, and we can help show what that spend might be and ways that you can improve that. Okay, so as we move towards the demo, and get into our solution specifically, we do have a set of printing products. So we call the main product Simplified Printing, and we really we really handle quite a few different printing methods. And so one might be using print server printing. One might be direct IP printing without print servers. Another client printing with screwdrivers. And then we can also do mobile printing, which we'll talk about as well. So delivering those printers out to devices like iOS and Android devices. And so through these variety of printing methods, we have different approaches, all within the same management console on ways that we can manage printing in those different environments. So I'm going to switch over to our live environment so we can kind of walk through some of those things and really see the ways that we can help with printing in all of those situations. All right, so on the screen now is the Simplify console. So this is our management interface that handles the different products that are deployed out, like Simplify Printing, screwdrivers, Simplify Driver Management. Those are all part of our suite of products that are deployed out to the environment, and then handle print driver management, print queue management, and basically the log on and log off process for users on Windows sessions. So one of the things that we talked about earlier was really the ease of provisioning printers. And so I'm going to start with print server printing, and we'll get to the other ones as well. But print server printing is frequently deployed in existing environments. And one of the things that we really focus on is having a solution that layers on top of your existing infrastructure. So if you have print servers in place, we have a real easy method to get an agent running on those print servers, pull the information into our environment, and have it there ready to use. And it's not just importing information and then discarding the old servers. We're really optimizing the servers that are out there. With our service, a lot of times, with traditional Windows network printing, there's certain limits that start being hit as far as the number of queues that might be able to run on a print server, or the issues of the print spooler crashing or other server issues there. Well, with our service, we're handling all of the communication to that server, so it's not through traditional network printing anymore. And we're able to really streamline what the print spooler is getting. In effect, what this is much better scalability of your print servers. We've seen print servers go up to a couple thousand queues and still be effective. The job management of jobs streaming through that service and then out through the print spooler to the printers is more effective. So really just an enhancement in terms of the overall capability of those print servers, and really nothing that you have to change other than installing that agent out there on the print server. So I have already done that here. I have a print server listed, and I've listed the host name in there. Initially, you hit refresh printers, and the list of printers queries in here and shows up here in the database and in the Simplify console. Over on the left, we see owners, and these are targets that we can assign printers to. At first, I can see the Active Directory in multiple domains if I have that. But I can see the domain, I can see OUs, users, groups, pretty much every element of my Active Directory can be a target for me to assign a print queue to. Additionally, I do have listed here under computers, I can list out other network devices that might not be in the directory. Frequently, we see this with thin clients where you might not domain join a Zero client or a Linux client. That might just be a client that's out there on the network. Well, we can import those in as far as bringing groups in with those client names. We've just named the clients here in the list. We can also do IP address ranges. So if it's maybe a subnet that needs an assignment, we can do that as well. These are manually added, so I can come in here, right-click, do add a computer, and type the name in. However, we do have an import tool. So if you've got a lot of clients to bring in, we can take a CSV list, including printers that are going to be assigned to it, bulk import that in, and within seconds, populate a list of thousands of clients and assignments to those clients. So I've got print queues, I've got on the print server, I've got clients and users out there. To make an assignment, really it's as easy as grabbing a printer over here, dragging it over to the admin assign, dropping it, and now anyone that logs into this case into the client TC2S01 is going to get that printer. Similarly, in my domain, if I want to assign something to this particular user group, I can grab that printer, drag it over, and now every user that's a member of this Active Directory group, during their login process, they'll get that print queue assigned. I can see the list of printers that this group has, including where it's coming from, for instance, the domain or the OU or that group. And so from that help desk perspective, if I need to quickly assign a printer out to a user or just see what printers a given user might have, it's a very simple process to come in here, click on the user or group that you want to see, and see the values see the printers that are signed out to them. This is a big difference from kind of the more traditional methods of scripting, where you'd have to go through and really decipher what's going on, or even policy management through Microsoft or Citrix or some of the other approaches. Certainly, as you start scaling that, the complexity of who's getting what and trying to decipher what those policies mean can often get quite tricky. So having a real quick and simple interface here, we constantly get feedback from administrators of how easy it is to learn this and then effectively use for themselves or other people on their team. Again, back to that ROI, it's really a very quick time where you can see time savings just through ease of use. One thing to mention here is this is all database driven. So behind the Simply console, there is a SQL database that's driving this. So that's centralized. Anybody that has a console installed on their desktop or on a server can connect into that database, given the right credentials as an administrator, to be able to manage this from that central spot. And so from the administrator perspective, it's a very effective and high-performing method of doing these kind of assignments. But also, if we think about it from the user logon process, how many times are we logging into a virtual desktop and then having to process a script or process through a long list of policies? Those policies really take time and build up on the user login process. That has to sit there and wait for the processing to finish before the logon process can continue. Well, we've really optimized that login process so that we don't hold up the login continues. We're making a couple queries to a database, which is very quick and efficient. And then those printers build very quickly in the session as the desktop and the applications are coming up. So from that user experience point of view, this is a way to really shave off seconds or more from that login process as those users are connecting and reconnecting into that VDI system, and sometimes taking a while to sit there and wait for those printers to build. So again, another method where the user experience is enhanced while the administrators are being more effective as well. There are a couple features that I just want to briefly touch on here. The first is what we call advanced print features. This is a real unique thing with Tricerat. We are using a virtual driver out on the endpoints, be it the physical desktops, VDI, that sort of thing. And if I pull up devices and printers here, I've built a few printers here as part of my login. These were printers that are assigned to my user. Because these are virtual drivers, you might be familiar with like the UPD or the UPS or some of those other virtualized print technologies. But what we've developed is the way to still stream the native interface from the printer. So even though it's not actually a Lexmark driver that we've deployed, a user can come in here, click on the preferences, and streamed from the print server, they get the actual Lexmark interface. So finishing features, print and hold with pin code printing, all of these things, basically all the capabilities of those printers are present for your users so that you can use this method. You don't have to deploy a print driver anywhere outside of that one print server, and yet you can still have the full device capabilities for each one of your printers, and your users have access to all the same features that they're used to and expecting, including the more advanced ones for some of the larger printers. We do also, yes?
Andrew, so it's Pete. Hey, so can you touch base upon, so while you're on the whole notion of drivers and all that, just a question to hopefully get the Q&A to get going a little bit. Talk to me about, physical devices and how you guys help with that as well, because I know you guys have some good benefit there. So let's say I'm a user and I got a printer that might not be installed yet. How do you guys solve that issue? And then, generally, how do you guys work with physical devices as well at the endpoint?
Yeah, I think a lot of times I've been referencing here like, an RDS or VDI, but certainly for those cases of physical desktops, again, there still needs to be a method on how to deploy print queues out to users. A user sits down at a physical device for the first time. The same thing is true as far as, based on who they are or where they are, those printers need to be deployed. And we've worked with a lot of companies that have various means to do that. I know recently, I saw a script that was several thousands line long that went through pretty much every case of, okay, well, if they're on this computer or this subnet and so on and so forth. Besides just being impossible to manage, it was processing time. And so having a way that we can, the administrator can easily set up what printers those users are going to get. The first login, the printer is there and ready to go for the user. No driver needs to be copied across the network. They have everything they need ready to go. And they still have full capability of that printer. So there's nothing lost in terms of, okay, well, yeah, we solved print driver management, but now they have a reduced experience. No, we're giving them, the advantages of the driver management while still having all those feature capabilities. Let me touch on, one thing from the desktop side that gets interesting from those physical devices is if those devices are the desktops or laptops might be out at remote locations, there are times where we're not going to use print server printing for them. Perhaps your main print servers and your main environment is back at a central location, but there's unmanaged desktops and unmanaged printers out at some of those remote locations. Well, what if we want printing to stay within that subnet, or we don't have the ability to send a print server out to that area? Well, this is where we do have the option to do direct IP printing. And so for those kind of desktop environments that just need a printer built and print directly to an IP printer without a print server, we have a way to import the drivers into the database, which I see here through a list. We can assign which drivers for 32-bit or 64-bit should be assigned out, and then set up the IP address. As far as, in this case, my HP 2025 is at 2.31. And so through this assignment, again, I can assign it out the exact same way. I have admin assigned printers. Oh, in this case, I already have it. Let me delete the assignment. And so I'll assign this 3035, drag that over. And so now users logging into this will get a mix of these native drivers that print straight to the IP address, but then also our virtual drivers that go to the print server. So it's a really unique combination of being able to determine, based on your infrastructure, you may have some VDI systems or systems that are in the central area that use those print servers, but you may also have desktops that have need for direct IP printing without a print server. And so we can manage both of those through the same interface and really deliver an optimized experience out to those users based on where they are and then the device that they're on.
Cool. So Andrew, got a great question here from Goran. Is the Citrix Universal Print Driver somehow involved with your workflow, or you don't use it at all? So basically, I think what he's asking is, do you guys leverage the Universal Print Driver, or are you guys a replacement for the Universal Print Driver, or do you work with it?
Well, so a little bit of both. We don't really directly work with it. So we are fully featured virtual driver, and so in fact we've spent most of the 20 years of our corporate existence really honing that, spending all of our time making sure that that's the best possible driver. So we're really quite proud of the capabilities and the technical really proficiency of that driver. And so whether it's client-based printing or print server printing, all of that can operate directly through the Tricerat driver that's deployed. So the reason why I said it was a little bit of a mix, we don't specifically disable the UPD or delete those printers or anything like that. So if you do have a mix, again, we like to layer on to the existing platform. So if they are there, we will build alongside of them. However, usually when you deploy the Tricerat solution, the different platforms that you have, you would use this as your primary printing interface and disable the other ones that are out there. Good. Yeah, certainly if you have other questions, please bring them up. I'd be happy to discuss anything that might not be clear, or some other different situations that you might want to know about.
Yeah, so another good question came up. Can you kind of touch upon the implementation process of Citrix, VDI, so Citrix desktops, but throw the curveball in of Citrix Cloud? So do you guys currently have a good process on working with Citrix Cloud? I could probably add some color too, but curiosity, have you guys come across this yet? But good question around Citrix Cloud, Tricerat, and on-prem AD and storage, etc.
Yeah. Good. So first off, I'll take the easy one of just like a traditional VDI on-prem. We need an agent on the Windows sessions that are building printers. So that VDI system that you're going to log into. If you've got one gold image, it's a one-time install. You point it to the database and the license server, and then every image or every desktop that spins up from that image will get the unique things for that particular user login, and you're good to go. Printer updates, you have driver updates or different drivers. You don't have to reopen that image again. You just update the driver on the print server, and we'll read that all the way through out to those VDI machines. So really, really helps with the management of those VDI images. And even if you have a few, again, it's just that install of our agent. You don't have to deal with changing drivers in there. Okay, for the cloud situation, it's to a certain extent the same. We're a service and components that are running within the Windows session. So as you deploy machines out to whatever cloud system it might be, we're still that same piece of software, that agent that's running in the Windows system. So even with Citrix Cloud or other mechanisms, you get that agent into the desktop that's being deployed or the application delivery, whatever it might be. You get that in there, and then it's ready to go. So when the application launches or the desktop is logged in, the printers are there and ready to build. Now, the wrinkle with the cloud is oftentimes your print servers and your printers aren't in the cloud. They're local. And so one of the things that we worked on was, especially with that print server component that we have, we can actually put a proxy in so that we can communicate from whatever cloud system you're in down to the local network without having to open up ports on that local network, and then have that communication from the cloud to your local environment so that we can enable printing to where you are. Client printing also becomes a big thing. So if you have printers on your local computer, we'll make sure to get those built up in the cloud again, all through that same consistent management interface. I think that's kind of the overview of enabling cloud printing through something like a Citrix Cloud. Is there anything you wanted to add in there?
Yeah, so just to add some color too. I mean, to kind of understanding the architecture of Citrix Cloud. So there's two scenarios here, right? There's the scenario where you may be hosting your VDI instances on-prem in your data center. So your VDA is installed locally. It's local to your printers. It's local to the print server. So that's an easy scenario for Citrix Cloud. But let's say, in Wasik, if you pivot to the cloud and you're going Azure, let's say, for your VDIs, and Citrix Cloud for the management, then you would need to probably implement this proxy and leverage some capabilities around basic networking. So but I think the takeaway here is it is feasible, and again, you guys make it pretty easy to get your stuff up and running. So
yeah, okay. Let me really quickly touch on two other things, and then I think we'll look at wrapping this up. Number one is I did mention our self-service capability. We do have a tool that we call User Signed Printers tool. This is a user-facing app, and so for times where a user needs to be able to add their own printer in there, this is the tool that will do it. They can click on Add Printer, see printers that have been made available to them. And you can assign printers, not just admin assigned, but user allowed printers. So it's really as easy as coming in here, clicking add printer, their printers refresh, and within seconds they have that printer installed and ready to go for their applications. We have also added a mapping capability so that you can come in here to a map. In this case, I see my floor and printers that I have access to. So there might be other printers here on the floor, but it's a mix of printers that are here on the map and ones that I've been allowed to add. So in this case, maybe I come down here, here's the work center. I add that printer in, it says, do you want to refresh? Yes. In the background, it's now refreshing my printers. There's my new set of printers with the new one added in, and I'm ready to go. So a very easy user-facing perspective there. And then also from the user standpoint, we did talk very briefly about mobile, but I did want to talk about mobile devices. That is a feature that's being layered into the Simplify console at the beginning of next year of 2019. And so basically for these print server printers, you'll also be able to publish those as mobile accessible printers. So if it's an iOS device, it'll be published out as an AirPrint printer. If it's an Android device, it'll show up as an Android system printer. So again, taking your existing infrastructure, your existing printers, and enabling them for that new type of access for users that might need local printing on their devices. Certainly if they're logging in through receiver or something, we can already do that server-based printing assignment, but then this also gets it down to those mobile client devices too. So again, another layer of users accessing your environment in many different ways, and we can manage the printing and the driver management across all of those types.
And, Andrew, just a point of clarification really quickly, just kind of highlight again, I think there was a question around kind of architecture. You guys are a database with the management front end, and the database can run in an existing database, and the management tool can run anywhere pretty much, right?
Yeah, the management tool is just a Win32 app, so really no restrictions on that. This does not have to be running. This doesn't have to be highly available or anything. It's just setting those database settings. Normally, you'd put your database on a cluster or some other, highly available database backend, something that you likely already have in your environment. That's our only central piece. Everything else is connecting to get that information. Each agent operates independently as far as processing the user logons and the printers that should be assigned in that session.
Cool.
So it's a fairly straightforward deployment into your existing environment.
Yeah, and I imagine if I wanted to, I could take this and run it in a shared scenario as well, like XenApp or RDS as well, and have people connected and run the management as well. So.
Yeah, and that's, traditionally that's our bread and butter, kind of where we came from, those, early, Citrix shared session days. But then, of course, expanded out into VDI, physical, and now mobile. But yes, those kind of RDS or XenApp environments would fit into this perfectly.
Cool. All right. So any other stuff to demo? And great demo. Thank you for, again, taking the time. And again, any questions at all, let us know through the Q&A. There still is time. But Andrew, anything else on your side?
Yeah, I think that pretty well covers it. As far as what's next, I mentioned the ROI calculator that's up on our website, something that is very easy to go through and start seeing basically what we talked about earlier as far as those industry averages and ways we can save. Also on Tricerat.com, you can download a trial version for 30 days, fully functional and fully supported during that time. We can certainly set up an online demo where we can kind of tailor this to your needs. What type of environments and platforms are you running? What are some of the challenges you're facing from your users, from your admins, from help desk staff? And we'd certainly love to talk with you, and that kind of consultative approach. And this will get into also what you do, Pete. But working with companies, this isn't just kind of a product that is one thing. This is something that really can go across a swath of different platform types. So let's get into what you have that's unique. Those kind of complex scenarios are really what we're built for. So we can kind of layer that kind of a customized solution into your environment. So
cool.
Check out our website, and we'd love to talk with you individually and show you ways. Really, with a very quick, usually with a short online demo, we can get some of those foundational pieces into your environment, and because that's really what you need to see in your environment. Does this really help your printing process from driver management and user effectiveness? And we can see that after a short, a POC.
Cool. And then a final question that came in was around licensing. How you guys licensed as far as purchase?
Yeah, we have a variety of methods. Generally, we're per user, like concurrent per user. We kind of try to match up with your other platform purchases, like how you're licensing Citrix. So we have a variety of ways that we can discuss, but usually it's a per user access method.
All right, cool. All right, so folks, again, any other questions that might come to mind, feel free. We got about 5 more minutes. I'm just going to take you guys through really quickly who is XenTegra for those who don't know who we are. And again, our goal is simple. Obviously, Andrew is our CEO, and Andy, or another Andy, founded the company. And he has an interesting story. He was actually an SE at Citrix. I too worked at Citrix for about 9 years. I was in the product management realm. Andy was an SE. And what happened was Andy was out there being an SE, and he just found that partners were interested in two things: one, bringing your customers, and two, sell. And it really, for lack of a better term, it annoyed him. And he said, you know what, I want to form a company that creates true partnerships with my partners, but also enables my customers. Because one of the things customers were asking for was, hey, teach me about these products. Hey, give me some basic training so I understand what I'm buying. So XenTegra was formed on the foundation of enablement and training, and then through that we gain your trust and hopefully gain your business, and then we form true partnerships like with companies like Tricerat. So Andy's built a great company, and I'm proud to be part of it. And again, if you're interested, you can check out XenTegra.com/events. I do have a lot of great events coming up as far as all day trainings, like with hands-on labs, and again, more webinars as well. So definitely bookmark this page. I'm working on making an RSS feed, so bear with me. The plugin I use is not very RSS friendly, so I'm working on that as we speak. And again, bookmark go.XenTegra.com/webinar to keep tabs on the updated webinars and watch some of the past webinars we've done with vendors. I think you'll find some of those interesting. And then in the future, like I said, if you have a topic or a vendor you want to hear about, let me know. I'll try. I can always pull them on and create a webinar around that. So don't be shy as throwing up some ideas. So really quick, what is or who is XenTegra? First off, simple. We're classic. What you call a value-added reseller, a reseller. But on top of that, we also can consult. So we can come in and implement the solutions we sell, offer up ideas, offer up solutions, and really give you some food for thought on not just implementing, let's say, Citrix, but also say, hey, you should bring in Tricerat to deal with your printing issues, or you should bring in vendor X to deal with your profile issues, things like that. So we have a full bench. So not only are we going to sell you software, we can consult on top of that. And then finally, we could be an advisor. And that's probably one of the favorite parts of my job is I can come in, do an assessment and say, hey, here's what I think. You don't have to agree, but you can take it or leave it, right? But then what makes it easy is we can put it all on one piece of paper, sell it to you on one PO, and then obviously do the design, the integration, and make sure you're up and running. So, below is really our elevator pitch, right? We want to sell you the right digital transformation products to enable your users, and obviously we want to make you productive. So, just in a nutshell, this is who XenTegra is. And again, here's a listing of all the partners we work with. We're very picky on who we work with, but also you can see where we put our focus. And really, at the end of the day, yes, you see VMware up there, but I'm not going to sell you Horizon. I'm going to sell you the hypervisor. I'm going to sell you the networking side, right? We focus on Citrix. We focus on end user computing. And then all these vendors who you see here, help Citrix enhance it, make your environment, enabled so that users have a good experience. And Tricerat's one of those partners. So again, in a nutshell, here's all the disciplines we have. Again, this is a work in progress. I'm actually rebuilding the slide because I don't like this anymore. But you can see, we have 4 main buckets. We have end user computing, networking, because obviously without networking, you can't really do end user computing. And then finally, cloud and security. And cloud's becoming a big push for us. So you're going to start seeing a lot more around Citrix Cloud, Office 365 or M365, Azure, etc. But on top of that, we have a full MSP and our own private cloud. So if you're interested in, us helping you, get to Azure or a managed offering, let us know. Security is going to be a big thing. I mean, security, you can't turn a corner without bumping into security. So you're going to start seeing a lot more vendors in the security realm from us. And then, on top of this, we can do consulting. We can do consulting in a fixed manner. So you can do an SOW, you can do block of hours, pay as you go. And finally, you can say, hey, I need a resource every week or 2 days a week, we can do what's called a virtual resource. And then finally, we can offer support on top of all these solutions, be your frontline support, and we can be the bulldog to go solve your issues. So that is an option as well. And then, a little call out to our friends over at Citrix. Next year they do have Synergy, and next year it's going to be a little more friendly for us folks on the East Coast. It's going to be in Hotlanta. So again, if you're interested in going to Citrix Synergy, definitely add it to your calendar. And if you have a Citrix renewal coming up between now and end of year, definitely reach out to me. We can get you a free pass to Citrix Synergy by simply doing a renewal and adding us as an advisor. So something to think about as you get closer to end of year, and that offer still applies through now and through Synergy. So again, talk to me about renewals. And then finally, we do offer free micro assessments, and this is where we differentiate ourselves. So we can come in, we can assess your environment, and we can identify the gaps around printing. We can identify the gaps around your VDI deployment, your server-based computing deployment. So we do offer what we call a free Citrix micro assessment. We can focus it wholly into NetScaler or general. And then out of that, we spit back a nice little SWOT analysis. And we also offer these assessments on Office 365, networking. And if you are an Ivanti customer, we do AppSense and Res. So again, no catch here. They are free. And again, our goal is to help you. So again, some calls to action. If you want to get a further, deeper demo of Tricerat, I'd actually go a little further and say, hey, just POC it. I think you'll see how easy it is to get up and running. Let us know, and then when you're ready to purchase, we can help you, and then we can be your renewal partner once you do go into the purchase scenario. So again, some things to think about. If you like what you saw, definitely let us know, and we'll probably reach out as well. And again, thank you for taking the time. And if there's any other questions, now's the time to get them out there. If you forget or you think of something as you're driving to lunch, feel free to pop me an email. You just reply to the GoToMeeting emails because they come right to me, and we can get you an answer. With that, again, I want to thank Tim and Andrew. Sorry about the name there, for joining us today. And again, Tricerat's a great partner. We're excited to be working with these guys directly and offering up their solution to you, the customers, to enhance your environments, whether you are doing VDI, whether you're doing server-based computing, or just physical devices. We can help there. And I think definitely pay attention to the mobile printing stuff. I'm excited about that. And I think you're going to see a lot of great stuff coming out of Tricerat in 2019. So watch for that. And again, I thank everybody for taking the time today. Enjoy your Wednesdays and have a good rest of your days.